Okay, good morning, everyone. And we'll call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order, April 21st, 2026. And I declare all councilors present, with the exception of Councilor Peckford and Harding, who have given notice, and they're both away, to my understanding, on vacation. So I would ask that we have a motion to excuse Councilor Peckford and Harding, please. Moved by Councilor Allen, second by Councilor Gates. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. I will now read the land acknowledgement. The municipality of the County of Kings is in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral, unceded, and current territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. The municipality of the County of Kings is a neighbor to Annapolis Valley First Nation and Glooscap First Nation, as well as a diverse urban and rural indigenous population. We are all treaty people and commit to upholding the peace and friendship treaties and working towards reconciliation in all areas of the municipality. Before we go to the agenda, a couple of comments I'd like to make. I would like to welcome Jordan Matheson. Jordan is here representing Director Brad Kerrigan, who is away on course with CAO Conrad and our Solicitor Terry. Hopefully they're not on golf course, but they better not be, or else they should have took me with them. The other item I would like to mention, this is Volunteer Week, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that a little bit more later on as time goes on. But on behalf of the citizens, the council, and the staff and municipality of Kings, we want to give a heartfelt thank you to all the wonderful volunteers that we have here in Kings County, and wish them all a wonderful volunteer week. We have an agenda in front of you, Council. Is there any additions anyone would like to make to the agenda? Okay, all right. Would somebody like to move the approval of the agenda? Moved by Deputy Mayor McPherson, second by Councilor Lutz. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. And now I would ask, are there any councilors who wish to declare a conflict of interest related to any of the items on the agenda today? No? Okay, we'll move on to approval of the minutes of March 17th, 2026. Did anyone see any errors or omissions in those minutes? Would somebody like to move approval of the minutes of March 17th, 2026? Moved by Councilor Sappington, second by Councilor Allen. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Now we have March 25th, 2026. Did anyone see any errors or omissions in those minutes? Okay, do we have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Gates, second by Councilor Hiltz. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Business arising. Is there any business arising from the March 17th minutes? Is there any business arising from the March 25th, 2026 minutes? Okay. Administration now. 6. Proclamation request for May 2026. Teresa Detters, diversity specialist, will be presenting 2 motions. Good morning, Teresa.
You this morning for Jewish Heritage Month and Asian Heritage Month, both observed in May. So the origin of this is the strategy for belonging, specifically under the pillar of cultural celebration and reflection of diversity, and also our proclamations policy, COM 02003. The intent this morning is to present 2 proclamation requests for Committee of the Whole to consider in accordance with the municipality's proclamations policy and strategy for belonging. So first, covering Jewish Heritage Month, which is observed in May throughout Canada. This was formally established through the Jewish Heritage Month Act, which received royal assent in 2018. May was chosen to align with significant dates such as Yom HaShoah, which is Holocaust Remembrance Day, and this month serves several important purposes. First of all, honoring the history of Jewish settlement in Canada dating back to the 18th century, celebrating the cultural, artistic, scientific, and social contributions of Jewish Canadians, educating the broader public about Jewish traditions, customs, and values, and confronting the history of anti-Semitism in Canada and reaffirming commitments to continue combating anti-Jewish hate and discrimination. Successive waves of immigration have brought about 400,000 Jewish people to Canada since the 1700s, and proclaiming Jewish Heritage Month affirms that people of Jewish faith, culture, and heritage are welcome and belong in our community of communities. It also serves as a reminder that a global rise in anti-Semitism, as well as in the Atlantic region and Canada, requires us to recognize and stand against hatred and discrimination in all its forms. So Asian Heritage Month is also observed through the month of May in Canada and was officially recognized by the federal government in 2002 following years of advocacy by Asian Canadian communities. The month celebrates the vast and diverse contributions of Canadians with roots across East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands to the country's cultural, economic, and social life. The Asian people have been present in Canada since the 18th century, with Chinese laborers playing an integral, though often exploited, role in building infrastructure like the Canadian Pacific Railway in the 1880s. This history was marked by significant injustices, including the government's racially discriminatory immigration policies and the internment of Japanese Canadians during World War II, both of which Canada has since formally apologized for and acknowledged. Asian Heritage Month gives an opportunity to acknowledge these hardships while also celebrating extraordinary contributions across medicine, science, politics, business, and the arts. Today, Asian Canadians represent one of the fastest growing and most diverse segments of the population, and their presence enriches our community of communities with a wealth of cuisines, arts, cultures, languages, and histories. Many dedicated individuals and cultural organizations here in the County of Kings who work to advance the representation, inclusion, and belonging of Asian community members are a vital part of what makes this region welcoming, vibrant, and strong. And so to give you an idea of the diversity of ethnicities and cultures that are included under the umbrella of Asian heritage, I have some maps to show you the distinct regions. So on this map, we have Northern Asia, which is Siberia in Russia, East Asia, which includes China, Japan, Korea, Mongolia, and Taiwan, and South Asia, which includes Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Then on the next slide, this is Southeast Asia, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, East Timor, and Vietnam are countries included in Southeast Asia. And then Western Asia, even though most of us would think of this region as the Middle East, this is also part of the Asian continent. So Western Asia includes countries like Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Cyprus, Georgia, Iran, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Palestine, Syria, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. And then finally, in the Asian continent, Central Asia covers Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. I'm giving myself a little test here by naming all these countries. And then the final region actually includes the Pacific Islands. So that's where we have Hawaii as part of Polynesia, and there are 3 regions in the Pacific Islands considered part of under the Asian umbrella. So Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. So concluding that, proclaiming Jewish Heritage Month and Asian Heritage Month in the municipality aligns with the implementation plan of the Strategy for Belonging, encourages public engagement and awareness, affirms diverse representation and inclusion, and advances the vision of being a community of community where all peoples belong. This aligns with the strategic plan under the Strategy for Belonging, specifically the 2 pillars of cultural celebration and reflection of diversity, and truth, awareness, and advocacy. Alternatively, Committee of the Whole may choose not to recommend one or both of these proclamations for adoption. But if adopted, staff will publish these proclamations to the municipality's website or social media platforms. In addition, the diversity team will engage in internal awareness and community awareness to build around Jewish heritage and Asian heritage. So that brings me to our recommendations. That Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council to proclaim May as Jewish Heritage Month across the municipality of the County of Kings. And second, that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council to proclaim May as Asian Heritage Month across the municipality of the County of Kings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carissa. So I presume we'll be doing these separately. So the first recommendation is for Jewish Heritage Month. So do we have a mover? Moved by Councillor Best, second by Councillor Lutz. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. The second recommendation, as Carissa had mentioned, is on the Heritage, or Asian Heritage Month. Do we have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Hilt, second by Deputy Mayor McPherson. All those in favor, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Great. Thank you again, Carissa. And we'll move on to Engineering and Public Works, and Jordan Matheson, our Manager of Engineering and Services, will be presenting. This is a special occasion because this will be Jordan's first presentation to the municipality. Jordan started work with us on March the 2nd, and then we'll have 2 motions. So here we go, Jordan. I know it's your first time, but no pressure.
Council members, my name is Jordan Matheson, Manager of Engineering Services. Thank you for the opportunity to present requests for a decision regarding updates to the Lake Monitoring Program. In February 2010, Municipal Council approved terms of reference for the Lake Monitoring Technical Advisory Committee. Upon review, we identified that the terms of reference contain language that could be interpreted as suggesting the municipality has statutory or regulatory authority in lake monitoring. This has previously contributed to misunderstandings, including an appeal to the Regulatory and Appeals Board. By rescinding the 2010 terms of reference, removing the committee reference from bylaw 102 and adopting new municipal policy, the municipality will eliminate misleading governance and references and reduce the risk of future misinterpretations to planning or appeal processes, and formalize our ongoing commitment to the valuable volunteer-driven lake monitoring program with a supportive and non-regulatory framework. The proposed policy is based primarily on the current description on the municipal website. It clearly outlines methods and timing of volunteer-led sample collections in the seasonal schedule, sample processing, including internal analysis, where feasible, or use of accredited external laboratories, timing of annual reporting to council, typically fall and winter following the field season, notification to volunteers of results and the council presentation date, and publication of annual reports and data summaries on the municipal website. The transition from a terms of reference to a policy has no overall financial impact. Ongoing costs for laboratory supplies and external review will continue as they have in previous years. Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council to rescind this February 2nd, 2010 motion approving the terms of reference for Lake Monitoring Technical Advisory Committee, amend bylaw 102 by deleting the reference to the Lake Monitoring Committee from Schedule A, Committees of Council, and adopt policy Lake Monitoring Program as attached to this request for decision. Thank you, Mayor and Council members. I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions to Jordan? Councillor Lutz.
Thank you very much, and through you, welcome to the meeting today, and congrats on your first presentation. Just a quick question. So the elimination of the committee will be sort of replaced by an annual presentation to all of council. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you. And then secondly, the committee had other members on it. I believe volunteers from each of the lakes. Will there be maybe it's covered in the policy and I missed it. Will there be a separate reporting mechanism back to the volunteers who are collecting all the data? And can you describe that?
I believe that I had in the policy draft just at this time was just to notify the volunteers of when it would be presented to council, and they were welcome to attend.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a move and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Lutz, second by Councillor Hiltz. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is renewal of J-Class Roads cost sharing, and our Deputy CAO, Andrea Hislop, will be presenting. Good morning, Andrea.
Mayor Corcoran, if I may, you have 2 more motions for the last.
Oh, okay. I'm getting ahead of myself here, aren't I? Okay, so this second one is, and thank you, Haley. The Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council give first reading to Amendment Bylaw 102, Committee's Governance, to delete the reference to Lake Monitoring Committee from Schedule A, Committees of Council. So we have a mover, moved by Councillor Sappington, second by Councillor Lutz. Any further discussion? All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay. We'll get the third one up here. That the Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council provide 7 days notice per S 48-1 Municipal Government Act to adopt policy EPW-04-017 Lake Monitoring Program as attached to the April 21st, 2026 request for decision. Have a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Sappington. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Thank you. Now, you were so fast, you
I
set
know.
me up, didn't you?
I
Huh?
threw you off, sorry.
You went up there and threw me off. That
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
couldn't have been my fault. All right, so we're back to 7B, renewal of J-Class Roads Cost Sharing Agreement, Deputy CAO Andrea Hislop.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, Council. So today I'm here to present on the new cost share agreement for the provincial J-Class subdivision roads. So just a bit of background, there's cost share agreements that have existed between municipalities in the province for resurfacing provincial subdivision roads since the 1995 Provincial Service Exchange. So this is commonly referred to as the J-Class Roads Program, and our cost share agreement that was signed in 2023 is set to expire on March 31st, 2027. So the Department of Public Works has presented a new cost share agreement titled 2026-014, and we received that on February 3rd, 2026 for Council's consideration, which is what this presentation is today. So some of the contract provisions, there's a 50-50 cost share agreement between the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works and the municipality for quote-unquote paving. That was defined in the contract, which was appended to the agenda. The municipality shall submit an updated priority list to the Department of Public Works on October 31st prior to each fiscal year, and we're only allowed to include the top 10 roads, so that was already considered by council, and we'll reference that in the next item or agenda item. The municipality is required to respond within 20 business days to the NSDPW's list of approved streets and related cost estimate, and that is typically received early in April each year. So just in addition, NSDPW adjusts manholes, valves as required on approved roads, and will expense this as additional work at 100% of the province's standard unit price. And the province is responsible for all tendering and contract administration and notifying the municipality of any cost overruns greater than 10%. There are no direct financial implications with this request for the 2026-27 budget. This agreement provides the contractual framework to allow the municipality to participate in this J-Class Roads program for the next 3 fiscal years, so 2027 through to the end of March 31st, 2030. And funding levels from NSDPW are not guaranteed from year to year. So staff will bring forward a new J-Class Roads funding proposal to council each year during the annual budget deliberation. So with that, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council authorize the Mayor and CAO to sign the Cost Sharing Agreement 2026-014 with the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works for paving provincial subdivision roads as attached to the April 21st, 2026 request for decision. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Many questions to the Deputy CAO. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Deputy CAO. So I'm to understand there's no change between the expiring contract and the current contract?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Lutz, yes, there's no substantive changes.
And no change in the overall budget that the province is providing for the program?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
And one follow-up. At one point, there had been discussions about when a road was paved by the municipality, well, through the J-Class Road program, 50-50, that the road would transfer in ownership and become a municipal road. I assume that I mean, I haven't heard that in the last couple of years because we've had an agreement that didn't contain that, but I know there was some confusion around that at some point, that the province was saying, once we've participated in the J-Class Road program, we now own the road and all ongoing maintenance for that section of road. I assume that's not included in this contract.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Lutz, yes, that's correct. That was actually a part of the 2023-2024 service exchange discussions, and nothing has come from the province in regards to that, so you are correct.
Thank you very much.
Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. My question pertains as well to the funding allocated towards this 50/50 cost share program on J-class roads. Evidently, there doesn't seem to be enough money allocated based on the condition of the roads. The question is, does the province set the amount in that 50/50 cost share and the municipality simply matches what the province put forward, or is it a negotiated amount each year between the province and the municipality?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, it's 50/50 cost share, same amount that has been for years. Like, I think it's 30 plus years. So it's a $2 million program that goes in. The province contributes $1 million. The municipalities contribute $1 million.
And if I may follow up, please, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that. It's a good clarification of how that works. Is there a mechanism for recommending an increase in that amount with the province, or basically are we bound by the provincial policy on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, the next item might speak a little bit to that, but I guess I'll speak to that in the next one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Sappington, second by Councillor Gates. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please, for or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, Deputy CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this item pertains to the cost shared program for paving subdivision and streets for the J-class road. So in follow-up to the agreement, the intention for today's presentation is for the Committee of the Whole to consider granting authority to the CAO to negotiate the paving of Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace by substituting some or all of the roads approved to be paved by Nova Scotia Department of Public Works under the Notice of Acceptance. It's also for Committee of the Whole to consider granting authority to the Mayor to execute the Notice of Acceptance and to consider a supplemental budget to maximize paving to be completed in this fiscal year. So just a little overview on J-class roads process. I know we talked just a little bit about this, but just want to highlight this again. So the J-class roads program goes back to the 1995 Provincial Municipal Service Exchange Agreement. The province maintains ownerships of the roads. The municipalities are required to submit a priority list of roads, and the provincially approved roads are cost shared at a 50/50. I just want to emphasize here that the roads that are eligible for this program were the roads that were appended to the 1995 Service Exchange Agreement. So it's, there's a specific list of roads in there that can be included in this process. So in the 2026-27 submission back in October, Council approved the following roads to be paved in priority order and submitted this to the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works. So you can see that Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace were the top 3 priorities at that time. Recently, we received feedback from the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, and they have approved to pave Pinewood Avenue, Edith Drive, and Polaris for a total cost share for the municipality at about $150,000, which excludes non-rebated HST. So just a little bit of background on Chapel Road. So Chapel Road was approved by the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works to be redone in 2019 and 2020, and then again in 2020, 2021, but it was ultimately delayed. The reason behind this was because there was delays in the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works approval of plans, and then there was also an extensive rebuild underway under those roads for water, wastewater, and sidewalks. So now that that rebuild project is near completion, and given the proximity of Cavell Avenue and Cavell Terrace, it's staff's position that it makes economic sense to pave those two streets at the same time, so that all the equipment is there, and then it can just be utilized, so it's not being transferred back and forth. So as a result of this, there was a request for additional roads. So the mayor and CAO met with Department of Finance and Public Works ministers and the chief provincial engineer on April 2nd, 2026, to discuss having the province contribute to all 6 roads covered by this request for decision. So Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace, along with Pinewood Avenue, Edith Drive, and Polaris Court. And ultimately, we're waiting right now for an answer from DPW on their proposal. So we want further approval from council to be able to continue to negotiate with Department of Public Works to be able to go through the paving of these items. And I just want to cover the financial implications associated with all 6 of the paving of the road. So Chapel Road, we have an estimated cost of 50% at just over $475,000. For Cavell Avenue, it's just over $195,000. Cavell Terrace is at just over $55,000. So all in total, including Pinewood, Edith, and Polaris, it's estimated that the municipality's cost to pave all 6 of these roads would be $883,034. So just wanted to provide a map here for you to show how Chapel and Cavell Avenue and Cavell Terrace are kind of all within one area. And also just want to emphasize that Chapel is primarily used as a thoroughfare from Highway 2021. Or 221, sorry. So it's typically used as a thoroughfare, and so looking to get that paved. So with that, there's 3 recommendations in front of Committee of the Whole to consider. So the first one is that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council grant authority to the CAO to negotiate the paving of Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace with NSDPW, which may include substituting some or all of the roads identified in the agreement. The second recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council grant authority to the mayor to sign the notice of acceptance with potential amendments to include Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace based on negotiations with NSDPW. And I just want to point to you, Deputy Mayor, based on your question, is we have these 3 roads that have been approved by NSDPW, but we're working with them to see if they would be willing to contribute some additional funding so that we could get 3 additional roads paved. And then recommendation number 3 is that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council approve the supplemental budget for J-Class Road Paving, GL 01-2-232-309, in the amount of $570,000 to be financed by transfer from the J-Class Road Operating Reserve GL 61-4-460-382. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you and would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions to the Deputy CAO. Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. When we're looking at paving these J-Class roads, was there any discussions around stubbing off to vacant lots that may be serviced by municipal water and sewers, so that, as you know, there's a lot of construction happening currently in Canning, and if they're stubbed off to those vacant lots, they're not going to have to tear up the road again to service those vacant lots. I'm just curious if any discussions around stubbing off to those vacant lots before it gets paved.
I'll hand that over to the Manager of Engineering.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor, currently they will put the laterals through, as you're aware, to the current homes on the roads, but as far as stubbing off, to my knowledge, hasn't been investigated, so something we can look at.
Okay, Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Deputy CAO. Again, just some financial questions. Because when we pave a J-class road, it's $50. So if the program's $1 million, like we would have to get 100% of that J-class road pot to be able to do these 6 roads, right? Like I'm just curious. I understand the transfer from reserves, but are we intending to pave some of these roads without a 50-50 cost share agreement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Lutz, the intention right now is just to continue negotiations with Department of Public Works and seeing if they might be willing to kick in additional funds to be able to support this additional paving here.
Okay. Because ideally we get a good negotiation and we get all the roads done. I'm fully in favor of putting in our 50% share. You know, I've spoken in the past about putting in more than 50% to simply get some of these roads through because we know how bad they are. But I think it's, you know, important that we continue these negotiations. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks.
Okay, so let's go back to the first recommendation. All right, do we have that the Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council grant authority to the CAO to negotiate paving of Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace with NSDPW, which may include substituting some of or all the roads identified in the agreement. We have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Best. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Or, I'm sorry. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Hard sometimes when you do something for 25 years and then you change the system. All right, now for the second one. And motion carried, by the way. That the Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council grant authority to the Mayor to sign the Notice of Acceptance with potential amendments to include Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace based on negotiations with NSDPW. Do we have a mover and a second? Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Hiltz. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, so now we have the third one. That that the Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council approve a supplemental budget for J-class roads paving GL-1-2-232-309 in the amount of $570,000 to be financed by a transfer from the J-class road operating reserve GL 61-4-460-382. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Best, second by Councillor Lutz. Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I need to make a comment on this. From previous meetings, I believe we have approximately 135 kilometers of J-class roads in the municipality of Kings County. I'm seeing that we have approved in collaboration with the province 0.42 kilometers. I noted that I receive, especially at this time of year, more phone calls about roads than anything else, even given the fact that most of the phone calls I receive are regarding provincial roads. But we do have a responsibility around J-class roads, and I find it totally inefficient that given the state of roads, that we are only dealing with 0.42 of a kilometer. To me, it seems that the system is not efficient and is not working. Thus, my question earlier about negotiation with the province. And the response is that this $1 million across the province has been ongoing for years. In my perspective, something needs to change. We need to put more attention into our roads, and not only provincially does the province, but we as partners in J-class roads as well need to do something to move this process along and to look after more roads on an annual basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, but that long rendition should have been done earlier, where you should be talking either you're in favor or against this motion.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my understanding of process is that I'm only allowed to make commentary after a motion is on the table, so I had to choose between 3 motions, and this is the one that I felt was most appropriate.
Are you for it or against it?
I'm certainly in favor of it.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to get at. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to further, I'm also for it, and I don't want to further the conversation, but Deputy Mayor has now confused me a little bit about what we've approved. So it was my understanding, and I just made very clear before we vote, it's my understanding that we're not approving 0.42 kilometers of road, that we actually replaced those 3 roads with Chapel, Cavell, and Cavell, which is more like 2 kilometers. I just want to make sure I am dead certain that I'm correct in that, because we actually approved replacing the 3 in the agreement, Pinewood, Edith, and Polaris, with Chapel, Cavell, and Cavell, which is 2 kilometers, and the original ask was 0.42. This ask of the 570 is to potentially try to cover the 0.42 that we replaced. Am I correct in that?
Deputy CAO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Lutz, I guess it's dependent on negotiations. So there's potential for us to be paving 0.42 kilometers, or there's potential for us to be paving these 6 roads, Pinewood, Edith, and Polaris. It's going to, again, dependent on negotiations. Council passed a motion to direct the CAO and the mayor to continue negotiations with NSDPW with potential to remove or substitute any of the roads that have been identified by NSDPW with Cavell and Chapel, the 2 Cavells and Chapel, or there's potential for us to be able to get all 6 done. So it's, again, dependent on the negotiations with NSDPW.
Okay, just a final follow-up for clarity. Should all negotiations fail, we proceed with Pinewood, Edith, Polaris as suggested in the agreement?
Yeah, it's dependent on negotiations, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'd say those negotiations went fairly well, but we're still waiting to hear back. Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to financial services, and we have Katrina Roofs, our financial analyst, will be presenting. Good morning, Katrina.
Good morning. Today we have a presentation about a revised budget for the Hantsport Fire Department. And the intent of today's presentation is to provide updated information received following the release of the presentation of the 2026 operating budget. And this is regarding the operation contribution to the Hantsport Fire Department, and to seek approval for the revised Hantsport Fire Department 26-27 budget. As of March 17th, 2026, which was our first operating budget presentation, no Hantsport Fire Department budget had been submitted to us. So as a result, we had included the contract maximum of $131,400 in the original released budget. Following the budget presentation, the fire department submitted an initial budget requesting $127,175, which was below the contract maximum. This revised amount was presented to council on March 25th, 2026, as an amendment to the municipal operating budget. Then on April 1st, 2026, the municipality received an adjusted final budget, identifying an additional funding requirement related to fire station apparatus maintenance, and as a result, the revised budget request was the full contractual maximum contribution of $131,400. However, our budget had already gone for deliberations, so this is a revision after the fact. So staff have reviewed the budget and contract calculations and confirmed that the request is consistent with the contract parameters. This update results in an increase of $4,225, which will be funded from the fire supplies account within purchase services in the emergency management budget. And our recommendation today is that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council approve the revised 26-27 budget for the Hantsport Fire Department with an operating contribution of $131,400 as attached to Appendix A to the April 21st, 2026 report request for decision.
Great, thank you, Katrina. Any questions to Katrina on her presentation? No. Do we have a mover and a seconder, please? Move by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Hills. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Now we're moving on to 9. Planning Services expansion of the Port Williams Growth Center boundary. And Laura Mosier, our Manager of Planning, will be presenting. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. So I am here to present a report related to 2 requests we've received related to the expansion of the Port Williams, not the village boundary actually, the Grove Center boundary. The village boundary is not within your jurisdiction. So the origin of this are 2 requests, one received by Bruce McLeod of SAG Developments Limited and one directly from the village of Port Williams to expand the Grove Center boundary. This is a image of the existing Grove Center boundary in orange. The area we're looking at today is the northeast portion of the Grove Center. So again, the existing boundary is in orange and ends here. Dr. McLeod's request is for this small piece of land to be added to the Grove Center, and the village's request is in this dark dotted line. So our policy related to Grove Center expansion is found in section 2.1 of our municipal planning strategy and indicates that growth centers are clustered with other growth centers in an effort to undertake some regional planning. The cluster that contains Port Williams includes New Minas, Centerville, and the towns of Kentville and Woofle. The policy states that the cluster is meant to have 30-year supply of vacant developable land, ideally at least sewer serviced, if not water serviced, if that's available. The current cluster has roughly, well, not roughly, but over 1,000 acres in developable land, most of it in New Minas South, and boundaries are otherwise intended to follow natural or administrative boundaries. So things like rivers or highways are under consideration when placing boundaries. The MPS also contains policies related to the expansion of growth centers, and there have been 2 strategic areas that were identified as being the priority for expansion in the future. The first being in North Alton, south of the town of Kentville, and the second in North Cambridge, so between our existing boundary of Cambridge and the and Highway 101 in the north. There's also a requirement when growth centers are expanding onto A1 land that an agricultural impact assessment is meant to be conducted to measure the loss of land and what that impact is to the overall farming industry and the overall economy within the municipality, as well as the quality of the soils lost and the impacts on neighboring farming operations. So the SAG request comes following a successful planning application in the form of a development agreement. The property, the subject property of that development agreement is currently bisected by the growth center boundary. The property is roughly 28 acres in size, with 16 being in the growth center in the R5 zone and 12 acres in the A1 zone. It is not currently being farmed. So this is an image of the subject property outlined in red. The growth center boundary again is in orange. So this area of the property is currently under a development agreement that includes the extension of Steepleview and the creation of a new road. The balance of the land to the north is in the A1 zone. Oh, I'm sorry, I had an animation there that didn't work. This is the site plan of the property. The first phase is in green, and the extension of Steepleview is included in that first phase. On the left-hand side of the extension of Steepleview is proposed grouped dwellings. The east side is intended to be low-density 1 and 2 unit dwellings, and this 5-acre portion in the rear is meant to accommodate a 32-unit apartment building. It should be noted that in drafting the development agreement, at the time the applicants intended to develop this portion first, with the apartment building being a co-housing project operated by the owners. But their plans have changed, and they've since begun developing this portion in grouped dwellings for their co-housing. So that is important to keep in mind a little bit later. Phase 2 includes this red portion. This portion here is meant to be, again, low density 1 and 2 unit dwellings, and this portion here is intended to be 2 apartment buildings containing up to 33 units each. Currently, only one side of the new road would be able to be developed under the development agreement. The area to the north, again, is in A1. Developing only one side of the road makes it virtually financially unfeasible. It's not, this development would not move forward if both sides of the road could not ultimately be developed. The terms of the development agreement were drafted, again, with the intent that the apartment building would be developed first. And so in terms of development agreements often include phasing, and they often include conditions under which the next phase can begin after the first phase is completed. And the prompt for that second phase to begin is the issuance of an occupancy permit for this apartment building. And now that the applicant's plans have changed, the future of this apartment building is uncertain. So it is likely that either this portion of the land would need to be sold and then developed with the apartment building, or the development agreement amended in advance of this new road being able to be developed. So this is not an urgent matter, but it is something that the owners had wanted to sort of get in place so that they can maintain their options for the site. The Port Williams request was to establish a new boundary in the location that had been proposed in their 2010 secondary plan. So for a bit of history, in 2008, I believe, Port Williams began to undertake a secondary planning process and included a community working group to establish the boundaries of their growth center. A boundary that was shown on the screen prior was proposed and ultimately was not approved by the Minister of Municipal Affairs. So the province is required to approve any and all municipal planning strategy amendments, and they do that. They review them on the basis of our 5 statements of provincial interest, of which the preservation of agricultural land is one. And under that rationale, the minister pulled the boundary to where it is today, since it would result in a significant loss of farmland, and they felt at that time that it was inappropriate and not necessary for the growth center to contain so much active agricultural land. The village has indicated that the boundary expansion is needed to protect their municipal water supply, as it's their belief that the agricultural land is affecting the water quality. The area associated with the village request is 90 acres in total, roughly, 60 of which are, actually I've got that reversed, 30 of which are in village ownership and 60 are in private ownership and are currently actively farmed. So we can see, again, this is our image from previously. The village request is contained in this black dotted line. The village owns the land here, and the balance you can see from the photo is all being farmed and in private ownership. In terms of municipal water supply protection, there are 2 main methods for a utility to ensure water quality, and then a third that is helpful. The first is through ownership. So when you own land, you control it. You control the activities that happen on that land. As I mentioned, the village does own 30 acres in that area, and so they are in complete control of what happens on that land in terms of potential contamination to the water supply. The second method of protection is through well field protection overlays established in the land use bylaw, and we'll do a bit of a info session on how those are established. And the third is education and outreach. So the utility is responsible for protecting its water supply. Some of that can happen in the form of education to landowners to inform them of uses that may cause increased contamination to water supply, and outreach. So if there is a spill, it's the utility that then steps in to contact property owners to advise them of a spill and what needs to happen to clean it up. So well field protection overlays are established through the drafting of a source water protection plan prepared by the utility. In this case, that utility is the village. And the source water protection plan identifies uses and activities associated with the contamination of water supplies. So some of those uses can be I think this is an older version of my presentation. Some of those uses, the obvious one is a gas station. Those are probably the riskiest uses associated for water supply protection, but also car washes, dry cleaners, the storage of certain chemicals, auto repair sometimes is identified, and some trades. So the source water protection plan identifies those uses, but it also identifies activities, and activities can be associated with uses. Only uses can be regulated through our land use bylaw, but activities are not. So in our land use bylaw, you'll see agricultural uses listed as a land use, a permitted use in our zones. Activities that might be associated with that use might be the storage of manure. The storage of manure is considered a risky use for water protection, but that's not something we can regulate. It's also important to recognize that uses and activities that predate well field protection overlays are permitted to continue. Uses become non-conforming under the land use bylaw, so those those areas that are currently being farmed, should the boundary be expanded. That doesn't necessarily provide additional protection to well field protection, since those uses were already happening and can continue. Agricultural uses do not require a permit under the land use bylaw, only the construction of buildings. So those activities, even when associated with a use under the land use bylaw, are not something that the municipality controls. That's where the education and outreach for the utility comes in, and it's the intent of this whole system that that utility will work with those landowners to have farming practices that ensure the protection of those water supplies. So this is the land that is owned by the village in this area. So the boundary was sort of roughly here, and these are the lands that the village owns. We can see that the Zone A's are here. So they control, the Zone A's are the most important zone in terms of controlling the contamination, particularly from things like manure, because those pathogens tend not to survive a long time of travel distance. So once they're beyond the Zone A, Zone B boundary, they're generally not that risky. So the one that is of concern is this Zone A, that this village well is on private land. They lease the land and have several easements over this land to have it feed into the water system. So staff has requested additional evidence to support the request from the village, such as water testing logs. So the utility does test the water before they treat it, and those tests, there are parameters both pre and post testing for contaminants. And at the Village of Port William Source Water Protection meeting, not of this year, but of last year, the minutes indicated that all of the testing levels were within acceptable parameters. And staff have not received any evidence to support this request indicating that the water is unduly contaminated. And there also has been no indication that the utility has attempted to work with the property owners to ensure that these risky activities are limited near the wellheads. That being said, staff are recommending the council authorize a planning project to bring the SAG lands into the growth center in order to accommodate the development that is already approved by development agreement. Staff estimate that should the expansion of the lands to include the SAG lands, there would be roughly 100 residential units that likely would not get built. But staff are recommending that we pause the village request until such time as more information is received to support the need for an expansion due to the protection of the well fields. And finally, part of the reason why we do this process where we take in requests and draft a report for you to review is to assess the resources required to undertake these projects in light of other applications and projects that we have on the go. So our other projects which predate these requests include our housing review, which is a fairly significant undertaking, as well as potential A1 amendments, of which you have yet to provide direction, but we would expect any project involving A1 would also be a fairly sizable project. So at this time, staff do not have the capacity to process these amendments, and there are also the limitations on the SAG development agreement, which I discussed earlier. So the phasing would limit the development of the new road at this time. But with that, we would make a recommendation that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Municipal Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to begin the process of amending the Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw to expand the Port Williams Growth Center boundary to include the entirety of PID 55037-139, known as the SAG boundary, as described in Appendix E of the request for decision dated April 21st, 2026. And I'd pass it back to the Mayor.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions to Ms. Mosier? Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. Is there any, and through you, Mayor, to the Manager of Planning, is there a precedent? So this goes, I guess this question is more related to the Port Williams ask of the larger area. Is there precedent for a village or a municipality requesting the province expropriate land that's in a wellfield area so that a municipality or a village could own that land to ensure protection in the ways that you've talked about through ownership?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Lutz, not that I'm aware of. It's my understanding that the village purchased these lands through private sale and that there was no expropriation included for this one. But in terms of other villages or municipalities, I'm not aware, no.
Yeah, sorry, and I recognize the two that the village currently own, but then there's that third one in the corner where there is land that the village does not own. So I was more referencing, like, would it be possible for Port Williams to expropriate that land there or request expropriation? But you're saying there's not really a precedent that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, and a follow-up, if I may. Is there and this goes to more directly to this recommendation, and around the affordability of a road. And is there a formula or data that can tell you when it's financially feasible to build a road for a planning application? So just to go back, just for context, like you referenced the idea that in order for that development agreement to be fulfilled and for the road to be advanced in the 2 stages of the development agreement, that it would not be financially feasible to develop that road unless the other side of it was open for development. But is there a mathematical way to assess that? Like, how can we say with certainty that that road is not feasible? Like, could it be feasible with just the one side based on, that's a lot of units on that one side that could contribute to the development of a road?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again to Councillor Lutz, absolutely. It is, in theory, I suppose there would be a mathematical equation, but the other thing to consider is servicing. So this would involve both water and sewer infrastructure, so that makes that road significantly more expensive. But at the end of the day, it's private developers that are going to develop it. So if they're saying it's not financially feasible from their end, there's nothing we can do to force it whether it's financially feasible. If they're saying it's not financially feasible and they won't move forward, then it's not on us at that point to argue with them to say, well, our formula says it works. I see what you're saying, though. It is a lot of units, but they are maximums. They're not minimums.
Yeah, I guess my question is considering whether or not it's conceivable that a developer might say they need both sides of the road because they want to develop both sides of the road, not because they need to make it financially feasible. So I'm just curious for some like data around that road and whether or not it could be supported. And I also recognize that there's provisions within the DA that say that's not to be developed anyway until the other side is included, the SAG land. So anyway, that's it for questions, and I'll save the rest for debate.
Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question for clarification, Laura. In the request by SAG Developments, is there discussions around the egress and ingress for any development that they're doing? In other words, will they be able to exit out onto the 358? And the concern that I have is that with that much new traffic, with a lot of...
Excuse me, Councillor Gates.
Yeah.
This is not debate time of what your concerns
No,
is. It's to ask questions, please.
I am. I'm asking for clarification.
No, you're talking your concerns. You're entering debate, and that would be after a motion is placed. So please ask a question. Thank you.
Sorry, Laura, through you, Mr. Mayor, is there egress and ingress only through the subdivision right now? On Lee side or Steeple View?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gates, currently Steepleview does connect to Highway 358, so any development can exit on Steepleview. As part of processing this development agreement, there was a traffic study that was conducted and determined that the impacts related to the development would be extremely minimal on Highway 358. The DA does also enable the owner to develop a driveway in the location of the second road to be used through construction. So provided they are able to get an access permit from the Department of Public Works, and our consultation with them did not indicate there would be any issue with that, then they can build the access through a driveway for construction purposes now, but otherwise all development would exit off Steepleview.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor, through you to Laura. If this recommendation were to pass, that would permit the development possibility of on A1 farmland?
It would, the growth center would expand onto agricultural A1 land and would be rezoned into a zone that was enabled within a growth center.
That would allow development?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else? Oh, okay. We have a recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to begin the process of amending the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to expand Port Williams Growth Center boundary to include the entirety of PID 55037139, known as SAG boundary, as described in Appendix E of the request for decision, dated April 21st, 2026. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Best. Okay, now we're open for discussion. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item has a bit of a history, and this conversation has a bit of a history, which I think predates even me on council and before, around the idea of growth centers and agricultural land. And this particular request, you know, I think will ignite a conversation again that has been had a couple different times. I personally will not be voting in favor of this motion. What it proposes to do is develop A1 land. And that A1 land, as mentioned by the manager of planning, has some restrictions on it or has some concerns on it because of wellheads. But I just don't think that this conversation needs to be reopened, and that there's just a couple different reasons. I think that what we've provided in the DA currently is acceptable to start, and that should that be developed, this could be looked at later, but I don't know that they've enacted the DA to the level that warrants us having this conversation again. And so my preference would be that we leave it as is. I don't think we need to expand it. And if I would have to be convinced that you really need both sides of the road to develop, you know, to be developable, to see that that road simply cannot be done. So I would be amenable to looking at amending the DA to say that they could develop on, I wish I could know my north, south, east, and west, but I believe it's the south side of the road that they're currently allowed to develop on. I would be amenable to allowing them to develop that without touching the north side, which is currently not A1. I would be amenable to that, removing that provision of the DA, but I am not in favor of this as it is, because we'll lose A1 farmland, and I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say I'll be also voting against this. I believe in protecting all of our A1 farmland at all costs. We're not making any more of it. We live in one of the richest farming areas in Canada, and I think it's important not to develop A1 farmland. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, through you, this is a challenging one for sure, because as described by the last two speakers, we need to protect our farmland. There's no question about it. In 2010, the province did not support the expansion and use of A1 farmland. What's different today, which makes it challenging for me, is evidently we have a housing crisis. And this is going to allow expansion of houses, very much needed houses in Port Williams. However, at what price is the question. And I'm really up in the air on this one at this point. And really haven't decided yet, without more commentary, how I will vote. But I just wanted to clarify that at the end of this process, no matter what municipal council decides to support, it does go back to the province, who will have the final say on whether or not they would permit expansion onto A1 farmland. Is that accurate? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gates.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Laura, I'm just wondering, is it possible to bring up that PID number in particular that we're talking about for SAG developments? Yes, on the map. The one before that, I think. That one. Thank you. So I guess getting back to my question, Mr. Mayor, to Laura, is if that green on the left, which is part of the ability for them to currently develop, is the access for that only through Steeple View? Could they go to the left through private lands if they got an easement to take some of the traffic? Not to the red section, but to the left?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gates, that's not enabled in the development agreement.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All right. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you. I would just quickly note, in further support of my argument that this should be denied, is the notion that growth centers are conceived of in clusters, and that there was noted by the manager of planning that there are 1,000 acres of undeveloped land between the cluster of growth centers that Port Williams is a part of, not to mention potential future growth centers in North Alton, which does not contain an abundance of farmable A1 land, and also North Cambridge, where we just have a new highway interchange coming in. Not sure about that farmland there, not my district, but certainly within North Alton, there's opportunity to grow in areas that do not take away from A1 farmland. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to be clear, the staff are recommending this. Is that correct, Laura?
To you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct. We're recommending that the SAG property be pulled in, but that the village request be placed on hold, essentially, until we have evidence to support a recommendation for that expansion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lutz, or Hiltz, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, could we go back to that map with the SAG and with the village request, please? Can you enlarge that a little bit, Laura?
I can try.
Perfect, thank you.
So for reference, this property is owned by the village, as is this one. So, but this is not, and this is not, and these three are not.
And so the red and the neon green or the chartreuse, that's currently not being farmed, correct?
No, it's not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Best.
Thank you, Mayor, through Laura. That lime green, that's all you're going to try to get through here today, just a lime green, that little part. And how, is that an acre and a quarter?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Best, that's roughly 11 to 12 acres.
11 and 12 acres. And you just mentioned to Councillor Hiltz, it's not farmed?
It's not currently being farmed, no, but it is in
And
A1.
who owns that land now?
This land, the green land, is part of the same parcel. This is all one parcel. The growth
Right.
center cuts right through the piece of land.
Right.
So it's owned by SAG Developments Limited.
Okay. And it hasn't been farmed for years, I take it. I heard it hasn't been farmed for 20-some years.
I don't know about 20, but certainly for the last, the development agreement is from 2022. Certainly since then, possibly before. It was owned by Mitch Bryson prior.
Right.
And so the lands where Steepleview and Leaside are developed, this was all part of one ownership. This was all in Bryson Development's ownership. This DA identifies these lands for future development, the lands in the growth center. It doesn't make mention of these lands, but at that time they were all owned in the same ownership.
Yep. And I understand farmland. I farm and understand it. I don't think anybody in Port Williams would like to have a piggery there. I really believe the piggery or a chicken barn, the smell there in the growth center, I don't feel that we should be hung up on farmland, in my opinion. I think it's a time to look at 2026, and I'm going to vote in favor of it, because if I lived in Port Williams, like I'll say it again, I don't want a piggery right beside that, and I don't want a chicken barn beside it. Or a beef barn. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Gates.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think I personally would be in favor of just the color and neon being included in the growth center, and not have any reservations with regards to the balance of the farmland to the west and to the north. It still could be farmed. It's hayfield currently, so with regards to the hayfield, I would have no objection to it continually being hayed or pasture, but it is hayfield. But in order to see this development, which is targeted for seniors, I think the ask by SAG is not the area that's in the dotted line, as Councillor Lutz indicated, that it would make the logistics, I think, feasible for the development to go ahead, and the loss for that area is it's not being currently farmed. I would certainly support that area.
Thank you. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. Just some final comments. I would just note, just because a piece of land isn't being actively farmed doesn't mean it couldn't be actively farmed, and then it doesn't contain wonderful soils for being farmed, or, you know, soils worthy of being protected should it fall under the right ownership. And secondly, I would just say even land that isn't farmed currently provides a good buffer between residents and active farmland. So just thinking about when we make planning decisions regarding conflict, you know, sometimes farmland that isn't maybe being farmed is actually providing a buffer between active farming operations and residential areas, and that doesn't make it entirely worthless as it is. So thank you, that's it.
Okay, thank you. All good debate. So we have the recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to begin the process of amending the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to expand the Port Williams Growth Center boundary to include the entirety of PID 55037-139, known as SAG boundary, as described in Appendix E of the request for decision dated April 21st, 2026. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, motion carried. All right. We will move on. Thank you, Ms. Mosier. Item 10, expiration of Kings County Exhibition. I believe Councillor Best is looking to put a motion on the floor. Thank you.
I'll just do it here in my seat. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you, folks, to give me a few minutes to talk about something been on my mind for 40 plus years. We're in the biggest agriculture in Nova Scotia.
So are you making a motion, Counselor?
I like to, well, I guess I want to discuss it first and maybe.
No, that's not the way it
Okay.
works. You make a motion first to get a seconder.
Okay.
And then we'll discuss it.
I'll make a motion that we look at building, starting with a Kings County exhibition and build a barn first to start the exhibition for Kings County.
Thank you. All right, so do we have a seconder for that? Second by Counselor Lutz. Okay, so you're open.
Thank you.
Go for it.
So we live in a great area of Kings County with agriculture is our biggest agriculture in Nova Scotia. And we have nothing here for anything to take care of our exhibition for the 4-H, the cattle shows, horse shows, or anything. Prime example is coming up in July here, we're going to host the Seminole Canadian National meetings here in Kings County. And we have to move to Hants County to show our animals. Now we're expecting 250 animals from Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes. And we're doing all our activities here at the Old Orchard Inn, the Apple Dome, and we have to take outside. This exhibition would bring in unbelievable people. You could do it. It could be open for all year round. I was thinking in the wintertime you could have it for storage. We don't have enough storage in the wintertime. And I like the approach, as you can see, our recreation facility, to work together with the county and fundraise 25%, exactly what the new rec facility they need to fundraise. And I'm open for anything that we can see. You can see I have a diagram what we're looking at for the first phase of this facility. And it can be open for anything as I spoke. Dairy, we have a big dairy show here in Nova Scotia, and most of the work is done by Kings County and Annapolis County, and we have to go to Truro for it. So we have nothing here that we can showcase our animals. So that's what I look at. The price of this is rough price, $3.5 million. 3.5 million, so if we can fundraise 25% of that, I think it's 750. That's just rough. And I must say, I've been talking about this for 40 years. I talked to somebody last week about it, and if this goes, I have a well donated already, valued at $25,000. So I think there's lots of opportunities. I'm not worried one little bit about the 25% fundraised. I feel that I can do that within 2 years. Thank you. I'm open for any questions.
Okay. Any further discussion? Counselor Lutz.
Thank you. Just curious about any ongoing operational costs of a building like this. So it costs, you're suggesting $3 million or $3.5 million. What would be like the annual operating cost of it? And then I guess second follow-up question, would you propose like a board of directors or nonprofit society to run something similar to other models? Like what's the future vision for governance and ongoing costs?
Hey, Counselor Best.
I would say ongoing costs would be very minimum. All that's going to be inside of it is water and lights. The biggest cost will be when we have shows and that with the blowers and that. I don't see that's going to be much of an increase in cost. I like to see it run by a board, a nonprofit. I think a lot of people, as you guys are well aware, I do a lot of fundraising. People love to help nonprofit organizations, and I think it's going to be an easy sell and I think we can get support from Annapolis, and Hants and Kings. I think we can. Thank you.
Counselor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Counselor Best. For the 3 to 4 million, we would just get the one building, or you're talking about phase 2 or whatever?
No, phase 1 would be between 3 and 3.5 million for this barn, roughly.
And you're suggesting there would be additional buildings?
I would say you could expand, like a nice horse building or whatever, you want a stable or whatever, and different things. But you can put horses in this too. You can get portable stalls and stuff like that to do. And you might have to put an outdoor ring for a warm up or something and stuff like that. But I feel this is a key that, number one, then everything else will go after.
Thank you.
Okay, Counselor. Thing here. Counselor Hiltz.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I love this idea, no different than the rec center infrastructure for this county, for this area, and the economic spin-offs. Would you foresee horse pulls as well, eventually part of this?
Yes, you can have horse pulls, ox pulls inside. It's all going to be a dirt floor. You can have whatever you need inside. Dog shows. I mean, it's open for a lot of different activities
Okay,
there.
right.
4-H could do everything there.
Right, okay. And just a follow-up. So storage, are you talking like automotive, campers, things like that to bring in revenue?
Yes, most of the exhibitions in Nova Scotia,
Right.
that's where they make most of the money, in storage.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Best. Does Phase 1 include procurement of land, or is this on land that is already in the possession of the municipality? I'm kind of curious as to what location you would have in mind.
Well, I've been thinking about that. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I've been thinking about that. I think if we have lots of land right over here, would be a great right off the highway. If there's not enough land there, maybe they're down by the new exit by the reserve, I think is another great spot. Not too far from the old Orchard Inn and Slumber Inn, because we need hotels here. So I like to keep it up this section if we could, just for that reason.
Okay. I'm going to make a couple of comments, if I might. I think this is a good idea for down the road. I don't think the timing is right. I cannot support this at this time. I think that it would be in direct competition for funding, staff, resources for the new wellness center. And I think that once we get that in place down the road, then maybe this should be something that that we could look at. I think, you know, I know this has kind of been a baby of Councillor Best for a long time, and I'm certainly not against it, but I don't think it's the right timing. I think it would certainly interfere with what we're trying to do to get this wellness center, and I don't want to see anything that would interrupt or delay that in the current process. That would be my opinion. Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I, like you, have similar concerns, so I do support the concept, and I think it's a great idea. But I would be curious what type of staff time would be required, again, and I fully support of the idea. I'm curious about, like, it would be good to have more information about what this, because I would hate to have the fundraising for this take away from the fundraising of our regional recreation facility, because we have heard that the community is demanding a recreation facility, and the community is not demanding this type of thing. I do think it's great and would be very positive, but we're not getting that same communication from the public. I'm not getting, you know, hundreds of emails around this, although I think it is good. So my question would be, I guess, is there a way to get some more information about what would be required of our staff to set this up, and would it directly compete with the recreation facility? I guess I'm just curious if there's a conflict there.
Good question. Councillor Best, did you want to comment?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mayor, through you, I don't think it's any conflict. It's a different type of recreation. We have lots of cattle people here. I'm going to give you a couple examples. You take the Windsor Heritage Beef Classic. We had 320 animals last year registered in Windsor, showed up in Windsor. We ran out of space. We had to turn away 120 animals last year because not enough space. We turned away 3 lots of cattle coming from Quebec. We couldn't accept them here. And I don't think if somebody's going to support the swimming pool, the gym and everything, they're not going to support this cattle show or whatever. I think there's people will support the cattle show and they won't support the gym and the pool, and there's people who will support the pool. They'll never support a cattle show starting with exhibition, in my opinion. For staff time, I don't feel it's going to be very much staff time at all. It runs itself. The committee in Windsor takes care of the cattle show. We don't ask the Hantsport Municipal to do one thing for it. The committee will take care of the whole project.
Yep. Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I think Councillor Hills makes a good point in that in the municipality of Kings County, we need to be looking at economic development, and I think this is a wonderful idea. I think our priority right now is the new recreation facility, and it needs to be that. At the same time, I fully want to support this recommendation. I'm wondering if there could not be a friendly amendment to the actual motion that's on the table, and that we add a time frame to it. As Councillor Best has said, he's been wanting this for 40 years, and I think there is support. I'm sensing there is support around the table, but there's a little bit of caution around the fact that we want nothing to get in the way of our priority right now, which is the new recreation facility. At the same time, I do want to support this. I think it's a tremendous idea, and I think I would be very willing to support it if there was a friendly amendment to the motion, simply putting a time frame. That means it is the next priority once we complete the recreation facility.
You want to make that amendment?
I would like to recommend, I'd like to make a motion for or is it a motion I make?
It's called an amendment, to the main motion.
So I'm looking to make an amendment to the main motion of adding a time frame that takes it out of any conflict with the recreation facility, but that keeps it a priority.
Do we have a seconder for that amendment? Second by Councillor Gates. Okay. So now we have an amendment to that move this forward after the rec center. So now we would be speaking to the amendment only. Okay. Councillor Best.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Deputy. What kind of time frame are you looking at? You look back in some of the meetings with this new rec facility, they like to have it going 28, 29. So are you telling me that we could maybe start this in 30? Or 29, they're hoping to have it going in 2028. So if we could have it in 2029, that would be, I could live with that.
And although that's not my, through you, Mr. Mayor, sorry, although that's not my decision, that's what I had in my own mind, is that the rec facility, I think, would be completed according to the plans at this point, about 2029. And at that point, we would move into this as our next initiative. I believe strongly, as a councillor, that it's time for Kings County to develop. It's time for Kings County to begin to build attractions that are going to be profitable to the citizens, and this is a prime example of a second one after the recreation facility.
Okay, and just to be clear, what Haley has written here is that the Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council support the development of an agriculture exhibition style event in Kings County to endorse fundraising and partnership approach similar to the model being advanced for the Recreation Center facility, to advance this initiative with this taking place after the development of the recreation facility. So make it clear that this would be the next big project. Okay. Councillor Sappington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate everyone's ambition here, but I must admit I'm really uncomfortable with setting an actual date or year. I just feel like right now everything is kind of uncertain. I'm very excited to hear that you think that the Wellness Center will be completed by 2029, but I feel like perhaps the wording should be once the Wellness Center is up and running. I feel like if we put an actual year, that's my concern, only because you guys were tossing around years.
I think if you see the amendment,
I just wanted to make sure, because people were tossing around years.
After the development of the recreation facility. It doesn't have a date. We don't have a date for the wellness center.
Exactly. That's what I was concerned about. So,
yeah.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Hiltz.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I think for me it's the word development, right? So are we talking when it's like development is, in my opinion, is pretty vague with respect. You know, are we talking like the implementation of programs there? You know, like once it's complete. Although I disagree with this, I would like to see this. I'm in favor of both of them at the same time. I think, for lack of a better word, horse people. Horse pulls, totally different group of people. I've been involved with them. Of course, there's a lot of people like that in District 3, and very gracious, humble, and I think in just 4-H groups alone, the Beef Heritage, I've attended some things in Hants County, and they don't ask for much, and I think really, yeah, I think they would pretty much run it all. I've seen it already, so I'm in favor of it.
Thank you. I think Councillor Best.
My feeling, I know how long, and you guys all know, I was heavy involved with Appledome. Took 25, 30 years to get that done. I think this is going to take 5 to 6 years to even think about fundraising that kind of money. And are you telling me that I cannot start having a dinner and auction for I can't do it? Or can I start fundraising whenever I want? Right. Right. Correct? Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Who's flashing here? Councillor Sappington.
I don't know if I feel comfortable supporting something that is possibly 4 to 5 years away. I feel like perhaps we should say that we will discuss this, or it can come up again after the regional recreational facility. I don't know how I feel comfortable about voting to support something that I don't know. I might not even be around for. I don't know. It just seems this is a new one for me.
Thank you. Again, I would say that it would be in direct competition, and I like the amendment that once the recreation facility is complete, I would be very concerned if this may put the wellness center in jeopardy, and but I think that's the idea of working on this once the recreation facility is up and complete is the safest way to go, if the recreation center is your main priority. That would be my opinion. I think our Deputy CAO wants to make a comment here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to clarify the component around fundraising there, Councillor Best. So if this is council's wish to support this initiative following the development of the regional recreation facility, and this is something that should be taken on by the municipality, we would need to make sure that there's a governance structure or discussions around how this would execute before fundraising could take place. So I just wanted to clarify that component, or there should be a governance structure in place before we do some fundraising.
Thank you. Councillor Gates.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just maybe a question for clarification, Bob. You were mentioning potential users for a facility would be 4-H clubs. Would there be any suggestion around a place for cattle sales for the valley area? I guess I'm asking for uses for this facility.
Okay, we'll get the answer for you. I got a couple other councillors here ahead of Councillor Lutz.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm supportive of the amendment, and while I agree that there are definitely two different types of users for the regional recreation complex and an agricultural type of fairgrounds, I would argue that the community in general only has so much capacity. We can only do so much, and I think to try to do them both at the same time slows both projects down, because if we're tying something like this to a rec center and then our attention is split, the rec center takes longer, therefore the next project takes longer. So I really would prefer to see the focus be on the rec center as quickly as possible, get that done, and then we can move on to the next thing, like Deputy Mayor said, around developing Kings County as a destination with multiple event venues and lots of places to go. So I'm very much in favor of the amendment. And also note that this is a committee of the whole recommendation to council. So we actually still, this motion, while new to us today, if passed, gives us 2 weeks before we actually consider this at council, because it's not on the special council today, that it would be for council in regular council in May, where we'd actually finalize it. So it does give us some time to think about it between now and then.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Stoppington.
Oh, I would like to point out that being part of many nonprofits, I understand what Councillor Best is saying is that they might be different demographics, but really with all the provincial cuts for nonprofits, a lot of nonprofits are struggling right now. I know that on boards that I sit, we have literally had to go item to item, literally going, well, I guess we're not going to feed the kids in our programming. So I do feel like for two major projects to go on at the same time with the assumption that there's plenty of fundraising in the valley, I'm very surprised, because what I feel in my community is nonprofits saying they just feel like they're fighting amongst each other to try to get funding. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Best.
Thank you, Mayor. Through to Mr. Gates. 100% you could have anything you want in this. Right now, we have to sell our cattle, we go to Truro for it. We could have sales in here. We can have Holstein sales. We can have beef sales. We can have anything at all. It'd be a great opportunity. Just to listen to my colleagues on my left here about 2 recreation facility. We have it going now. Up at the Old Orchard Inn, they're going to have an indoor tennis. That is going right now with our rec facility in Colebrook. So I don't think it's should be a problem if you want to raise money and move ahead on things. You know, they're looking at a $4 or $5 million project up there, indoor tennis and pickleball. So that project's going on the same time as a rec facility too. So I think there's lots of room. If I go ahead to contact a farmer and hunt for some money, I think they would soon do an agriculture thing than they would an indoor pool, but maybe I'm wrong. So it's for everybody.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I can remember distinctly in previous debates when a regional rec center come up, your comment at that time, Councillor, was that these are very, very tough times and we shouldn't be moving ahead. Now you're saying that, oh yeah, it was time, we can do a rec center and we can do this and we can do quite a few other things. That's my concern. I think you got a great idea here, but I don't think it's the timing. There's only, as Councillor Lutz said, or Councillor Sappington, there's only so many volunteers and so much money around. And my concern is this has been voted on, that this is a priority of this county, this council, and it may put a damper on the regional rec center, and I would not want to see that happen. So I will be supporting the amendment, and hopefully that we'll be able to pursue this good idea at a later date once we know for sure we got the rec center completed. Councillor Best.
Yes, I always say that it's tough times. 100% is tough times. But I look at this as a $3 million project compared to $100 million. $100 million is a lot of money to get here in the county of Kings, in my opinion. And there will be no cost, very little cost for upkeep in this facility. Very, very little. You're looking at a lot of costs for a regional rec facility, big time in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've had lots of good debate. So, Deputy Mayor, I just want to read this and to make sure that this is the understanding, your amendment, to amend the motion to add, with this taking place upon the completion of the regional recreation facility. Is that, you feel that's your intention? Okay, and that was agreement with your seconder too? Yeah, okay. All right, so we have an amendment. You're voting on the amendment only. All those in favor, for or against the amendment, please vote accordingly. Okay, the amendment has passed. So now if we could get Haley to bring up the Mr. Best, Councillor Best's motion as amended, and we can vote on that. That Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council support the development of an agriculture exhibition style event in Kings County and endorse fundraising and partnership approach similar to the model being advanced in the Recreation Center to advance this initiative, with this taking place upon completion of the regional recreational facility. Okay, so that is the motion as amended, and now we're open for debate on that. Councillor Sappington.
I'm sorry, I'm concerned about I'm concerned about, in regards to what Deputy CAO explained in regards to the fundraising. I feel like the written is still a little unclear as to when that fundraising can start.
I think that was in discussion, Councillor Sappington, in the debate, but it clearly states that there's not fundraising or anything else until the completion of the regional recreation facility. In the previous discussion, it was asked, could I, and so on and so forth, but that is not, that was a question and a request, but that's not what's included in this here. This clearly states that once the regional recreation facility is complete, that's when this initiative starts. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. And who's flashing? Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, looking again at the potential of amendment just in wording of an agricultural exhibition style event. It's not an event, it's a facility that we're talking about.
Okay, thank you. We can change that word to facility, I guess, if we could. Here. Okay. Okay. Councillor Best.
So we discussed about fundraising, and a lot of us agree that we can start fundraising anytime for this facility. Now you're telling me we can't?
No, Councillor Best.
Oh.
We did not vote on you could do that. We're in the discussion. You asked whether I could, and if it passed the way it was, the Deputy CAO said yes, or somebody said yes, but that wasn't passed. The amendment by the Deputy Mayor has since passed, and now this is the main motion, at which clearly states that I believe a majority were concerned that it would interfere with the possible building of the regional rec center, and so therefore they think your idea is a great idea, but they don't want it to interfere with the rec center, and so it shouldn't be raising money until after the rec center is complete.
I will not be voting for this. It might take 10 to 15 years to raise that kind of money, so I don't think that's fair. It takes a long time to raise money. We raised $15 million at the Apple Dome, took 31 years doing it. So No, I'm not interested in this. If that's it, yeah, no.
Well,
You need to,
you
in
can
my
vote
opinion,
against it
I'll
then.
vote against it and hope everybody else will vote against it. I don't have a problem waiting till the facility is up before I start building, but I need a lot of years to fundraise. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I think Councillor Lutz actually very well explained the process here. If you look at the motion on the table, I think that's exactly what Councillor Best was trying to put forward today, that it become a priority to build such a facility. I think Councillor Lutz is correct that we will actually vote on this at the next council meeting. And between now and then, there can be more discussion evidently on your request for fundraising. But as our mayor has said, this is what we're voting on. And, you know, you're saying you're voting against it, Councillor, but I think it's exactly what you wanted to accomplish today. There's another step yet to come.
Councillor Lutz.
Thank you. Just one further thing to point out is that in the case of the Recreation Center, we have an identified nonprofit partner called Kings County Recreation Forward that we can enter into conversations with. And so I think once that's developed for this project, it'll become a little more clear when, like, what roles people can have. So if there is a nonprofit that's ready to go that we can partner with, that's a different conversation than today. So we're just not there yet. So I'll support it as is, and unless it's withdrawn, in which case we don't need to talk about it.
Okay, I think we've had all good lively debate, so I'm going to call for the question. So all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Pardon me? It was moved. Councillor Best was the original mover, and Councillor Lutz was the original seconder, and then it was amended. So we do have a mover and a seconder. Okay. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, motion as amended, carried. Thank you. All good debate. And, all right. We, maybe what we'll do is we'll call a recess, and we'll try and get back here for 5 after 11, if that's okay. committee of the whole meeting back to order. And we're on item number 11. Diversity Kings Committee, and the report was submitted by Councillor Sappington. Do you have anything to add? No, sir. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Is there any questions to Councillor Sappington on her Diversity Committee report? No? Okay. We'll move on to Port Williams Water Source Committee. This report was submitted by Councillor Doug Gates. Councillor Gates, do you have anything to add? Okay. Is there any questions to Councillor Gates on his report? No? Okay. Committees of council. Are there any verbal reports from committees of council? No? External committees. Are there any verbal reports from external committees? Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. So last Thursday, the library board had an interim board meeting to talk about the upcoming fiscal year and what types of closures and hours reductions would be required going forward. So we didn't make those determinations at that meeting, but we talked about the different scenarios. So I can't say much more than that because a lot of it was held in camera, but we will be having a formal board meeting this Thursday, and I can provide a more fulsome report after then. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions to Councillor Lutz on her report? No? Okay. Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to report on the Kings County Homelessness Committee that met yesterday, and they have completed the terms of reference with a focus on homelessness in Kings County, and they have developed 3 subcommittees, one around housing, one around mental health and addictions, and one around what is called community integration, and that's looking at safety and looking at some of the concerns and issues of community around the impact of homelessness on community.
Okay. Any questions to the Deputy Mayor? No? All right. Can we get a motion, please, to receive all reports? Moved by Councillor Best, second by Councillor Sappington. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, motion carried. We'll move on to correspondence. The Valley Regional Hospital Foundation has sent us some correspondence. Can I get a mover to receive that for information, please? Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Sappington. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, other business. Is there any other business to come before Committee of the Whole? Councillor Best.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to tell we had a very successful event Sunday for Central Kings Safe Grad. Every year, I started this 9 years ago, and this is number 9, and I'm very pleased to say that we profit in our dinner and auction just a little over $27,000 for Safe Grad. And a big thanks to the Colebrook and District Lions Club. They donated $2,500, and also the Rural Bank in Kempville $1,500. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that the Port Williams Lions Club successfully donated $2,200 to the hospital foundation for a specialized walker last Wednesday. So it was an update.
Good. That's all good stuff. Safe Grad and the Port Williams Lions. That's all good stuff. Okay. Comments from the public. I guess we're okay there. So, can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Counselor Allen, second by Counselor Gates. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, we will now move into a special council meeting. This special council meeting of Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. I declare all members of council present with the exception of Councilor Peckford and Harding, which we have notice for. Can I get a motion to excuse Councilor Peckford and Harding's absence, please? Moved by Councilor Lutz, second by Councilor Sappington. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, I'll now read the land acknowledgement. The municipality of the County of Kings is in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral, unceded, and current territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. The municipality of the County of Kings is a neighbor to Annapolis Valley First Nation and Glooscap First Nation, as well as a diverse urban and rural indigenous population. We are all treaty people and commit to upholding the peace and friendship treaties and working towards reconciliation in all areas of the municipality. Okay, we have an agenda in front of you. Is there any additions anyone would like to make to the agenda? No? Can I get a mover and a seconder, please, for the agenda? Moved by Deputy Mayor McPherson, second by Councilor Hiltz. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Is there any counselor that would like to declare a conflict of interest in any of the items on the agenda today? No, we'll move on. Recommendations of Committee of the Whole, April 21st, 2026. Proclamation requests for May 2026. The first proclamation is that the Municipal Council proclaim May 2026 as Jewish Heritage Month across the municipality of the County of Kings. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Allen, second by Councilor Lutz. Any further discussion? All those in favor, for or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. The next motion we have is that Municipal Council proclaim May 2026 as Asian Heritage Month across the municipality of the County of Kings. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor McPherson, second by Councilor Gates. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, motion carried. Lake Monitoring Program. Here we have three motions. That the Municipal Council rescind the February 2nd, 2010 motion that reads, be it resolved that the Municipal Council approves the terms of reference for Lake Monitoring Technical Advisory Committee. Do I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Sappington, second by Councilor Allen. Any further discussion? All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. The next motion, recommendation, sorry, that the municipal council give first reading to amendment bylaw 102, committees of governance, to delete the reference to Lake Monitoring Committee from Schedule A, committees of council. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councilor Gates, second by Deputy Mayor McPherson. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. And the third recommendation on the lake monitoring program, that municipal council provides 7 days notice per S 48-1 Municipal Government Act to adopt policy EPW-04-017 Lake Monitoring Program as attached to the April 21st, 2026 request for decision. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councilor Sappington, second by Deputy Mayor McPherson. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Sorry, I was voting for it too, Yanni, thank you. All right, we'll move on then to cost sharing program for paving subdivision roads 26, 20, 27, J-class roads. The first recommendation, that municipal council grant authority to the CAO to negotiate the paving of Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace with NSDPW, which may include substituting some or all of the roads identified in the agreement. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor McPherson, second by Councilor Lutz. Okay, although we have a discussion. Councilor Beth.
So if this is approved, then and the province agrees on this, then what the province suggested is number 5, 6, and 8 would be off the table. Is that what you're telling me, Deputy CEO? Or is this?
Deputy CAO. Yep.
Yep.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Best. So right now, we're just in negotiations to see if we can get Chapel and the two Cavells on there. Part of this is to grant authority to the CAO to potentially substitute some or all. I think in the ideal world we could get all 6, but this would provide the CAO with authority to potentially substitute Edith, Polaris, and Pinewood.
So that's not very good in my area, because 2 of them in my area, District 6. So you're prioritizing in Canning, the 3 roads in Canning, instead of the province, what they recommended. Is that what you're going to try to do? You're going to try to do all 6, but if not, if they decide to go with 3, then the 3 that the province decide to do is going to be off the books, then you're telling me.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so this would provide the authority to the CAO to be able to negotiate the paving of those 6 roads, which could be any combination of the 6, potentially. So it could be 1, it could be all 6, it could be 3 of the 6, but this is providing the CAO with this motion is providing the CAO with authority to be able to negotiate that with DPW.
Okay, all right, we we do have a mover and a seconder, correct? All right, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. That municipal council grant authority to the mayor to sign the notice of acceptance with potential amendments to include Chapel Road, Cavell Avenue, and Cavell Terrace based on negotiations with NSDPW. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Sappington, second by Councillor Allen. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, and the third and final recommendation, 04C-3, that Municipal Council approve a supplemental budget for J-Class Road Paving, GL 01-2-232-309 in the amount of $570,000 to be financed by a transfer from J-Class Road Operating Reserve GL 61-4- pardon me, 460-382. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor McPherson, second by Councillor Lutz. Further discussion. Councillor Best.
Thank you, Mayor. Through to the Deputy CEO, I have a question. So if we take $570,000 out of reserve fund and they got 300 that they approved already, so what is the price on the 3, 1, 2, and 3 in Canning? What's the total price on that?
I'm just pulling that up. Just bear with me one moment.
Thank you.
Had it all organized and now it's all.
No problem. Take your time.
Sorry about that. There it is.
You got it?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you. So the estimated cost share for 50% of Chapel Road is $476,218. For Cavell Avenue, it's $195,656. And for Cavell Terrace, it's $55,374. So that's 50% of the estimated cost. So if we include that with Pinewood, Edith, and Polaris, we would be looking at $883,034 for the total estimated 50% municipal share to pave all 6 of those roads.
Okay, just a follow-up question. Forget about Edith and Pinewood and Kingston. What would the cost of the 3 in Canning come to with the 50% with the government? Is it close to 870,000? If we approve 570 plus a 300,000 they already approved, would be 870 roughly?
So just adding those up for you
Okay,
right
thank
now.
you.
150 off of it. 733.
Yeah, so the total for the top 3 roads, so Chapel and the 2 Cavells, is $727,248.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, CAO. Councillor Gates.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question for clarification. The monies that have been ear tagged in reserves for J-class roads, did that also include sidewalks? No?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Gates, that would only be the J-class roads. Sidewalks would be another capital budget item.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor McPherson.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through you. Once again, I think the reason we're having this discussion is the fact that the system just doesn't work. We have 135 kilometers of J-class roads, and we are looking at repairing 0.42 of a kilometer. I think that's a shame. I do want to commend staff for looking at other avenues to try and increase that number, and that's what these motions are all about. It's about staff trying to find a way to increase the number of J-class roads that we can repair. I also remind council that staff has a process in place based on a number of criteria, which results in a list of our top 10 priorities. That is done through their processes, and we passed that a number of meetings ago. And it's only because the problems, for whatever reason, didn't follow that recommendation that we are where we are.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, but I will remind you that we are in negotiations and trying to get 4 kilometers paved. Okay. I don't think I need to read that again, do I? We have a motion in front of you. All those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, motion carried. We'll move on to revised Hantsport Fire Department budget. That 04D, that Municipal Council approve the revised 2026-2027 budget for the Hantsport Fire Department with an operating contribution of $131,400 as attached in Appendix A to the April 21st, 2026 request for a decision. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Hiltz. All those in favor, or well, unless there's more discussion, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Motion carried. Okay, now we're on to 4E. Expansion of the Port Williams Growth Center boundary. 04E, that Municipal Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to begin the process of amending the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to expand the Port Williams Growth Center boundary to include the entirety of PID 55037-139, known as SAG boundary, as described in Appendix E of the request for decision dated April 21st, 2026. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Hiltz. Okay, open for discussion, Councillor Lutz.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be voting against this motion, and I detailed why in the previous meeting for Committee of the Whole. So I just think that anyone curious about watching the debate regarding this particular item would be well served to go view the previous item. I know we have people that visit to look at the conversation around these types of decisions, so that the bulk of the debate did happen in Committee of the Whole, and I'm strongly opposed to this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote accordingly. Okay, motion carried. All right, comments from the public. Mandy, if you haven't got anything to, no? All right. I'm going to need a motion. I'm going to need a motion to to move into a closed session, and we will not, in my understanding, be coming back into regular council meeting. So can I get a motion to go into a closed session? Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Sappington. And we are now into a closed in-camera session, and I will remind council that this is now in camera.
person's